Rikki Lambert here with you on the morning show, and in our continuing focus on our farmers, bringing you a couple of stories that we thought might be of interest that have come up over the Easter break. And the first one is, I want to ask the question, would you eat meat grown in a laboratory? Well, that's what some researchers at the University of New South Wales School of Chemical Engineering have been exploring. They've been looking at the ways they can grow meat in laboratories and make meat healthier than what it would be if it came from a slaughtered animal. Now, of course, some of you, and I'm stirring you a little bit, you might be a bit frustrated that this is what some people are considering. But one of the researchers, Johannes Lecoutre from the University of New South Wales, has talked with the AAP news service saying if it's done right, it will be more healthy. However, Dr. Alan Barclay from the Dietitians Australia organisation says he's not so sure it's going to work out. He's told AAP to say that it would be more nutritious is probably difficult to prove right now, but there's a lot of good reasons for exploring it. The process that these scientists are exploring would involve taking cells from a live animal using a biopsy, growing those cells in a large vat called a bioreactor. But this is an expensive process that means commercial production would be some years away. But it does give the scientists a large amount of control over the nutritional content in the, I can't bring myself to call it meat, but that's what they'll say it is. The professor expects that it is going to cost about 30 times more than what it costs to produce meat the natural way using this method, but they're hoping they can bring the costs down. They're pointing to the way global population will increase over the next 3 decades and saying that they think calorie production will need to increase by 70%. But for the meantime, Professor Lecoutre says, I don't anticipate there will be large cuts of cultivated meat hanging in supermarkets for the next 5 or 10 years. So you can breathe easy if you're a livestock producer for now, and it's just would be interesting to see what livestock research bodies are doing in terms of increasing the value and the value adding of meat that's coming off of the paddock. Maybe that'll keep the lab-grown meat at bay for longer than 5 or 10 years. Now, another story that popped up yesterday that I wanted to bring to you, knowing how devastating that a fungus or a disease can be for some of our crops in horticulture, and biosecurity officers in Sydney intercepted plants that they know are the hosts of one of Australia's highest priority plant pests. The Sydney Mail Centre intercepted some fig cuttings and some asparagus shrub plants that contained the deadly fungus known as Xylella fastidiosa, which kills plants by damaging their water-conducting system, which would appear within the plant as leaf scorching, but it has no cure known in the world. They say that this incursion, if it had got out into our horticultural areas, would have been ruinous for 10 Australian industries, including cherries, citrus, tree nuts, production nurseries, summer fruit and viticulture, i.e. our wines. The Agriculture Minister David Littleproud said, according to ABARES, a Xylella fastidiosa incursion would cost our wine grape and winemaking industries alone up to $7.9 billion over 50 years. And as we know from the protections in place in South Australia to keep phylloxera out of the state, that caused massive damage in the Victorian wine industry. But Mr. Littleproud also noted that this pest has destroyed priceless olive tree groves in Italy that were centuries old and have been known to infect more than 350 plant species in 89 plant families. So as the late Steve Irwin used to say in the advertisements, biosecurity matters.